We're speaking to Paul Saunders and his partner.
How you doing?
Paul runs the Night Champions in
right.
Hastings.
Yeah.
Randy Couture, trained with Randy Couture.
Yeah, that's right. I was out at Team Quest. I spent time out there. That's
Yeah.
when Randy was based in Oregon.
Yeah.
So I trained out at Team Quest. Likes of Matt Linland.
Yeah.
Who was out there? Nate Quarry,
Yeah.
Chris Lieben, Dan Henderson.
Yeah.
All them boys.
So some big names.
Yeah, really good training camp out there. It was
How did
proper.
you find the Randy Couture? Is he?
He's a really good, down to earth bloke, but
Yeah.
it's a phenomenal fighter. I mean, we
Yeah.
had some proper training sessions out
Yeah.
there, but really chilled.
Yeah.
Had time for everyone,
Yeah.
not just the fighters. I mean, everyone in the gym.
Fans and things like
Yeah,
that.
everyone. Yeah, really good.
I
But
find that in MMA, a lot of big fighters even, they've still got time for their fans, whereas, you know, boxing and things like that, you don't get it so much, do you? It's like,
no, I think now with the MMA, the mainstream, the way it's going, the way it's getting more and
Yeah.
more popular,
Yeah.
I think lots of the fighters who are coming through are really representing themselves well,
Yeah.
and I think they understand about the whole sort of fans and the media kind of thing, and it's not just about about you, it's about fans who want to go and see
everyone
you
else,
fight.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
of
the
course.
fans at the end of the day, the ones that buy the tickets, I
They're the
suppose,
ones who
aren't
make the fight happen.
SEMMA Magazine, that's yours?
Yeah, SEMMA Magazine is myself and my partner Yaz.
Yeah.
We developed that, didn't we? And do you want to?
Somebody else,
Yeah.
another friend of ours called Dan, is involved in it as well.
Yeah. How did it all come about then? Is it?
Well, I mean, myself and Yaz were having a bit of a chat, and we were saying that, there's a lot of big magazines out there that cover all the top UFC fighters, but there's not really anything about that just covers the guys who are just under that sort of belt. So me and Yaz was having a chat, and we linked in with a mate of ours, Dan, and he's a media sort of mogul, and we sort of come up with the idea, and we thought, right, SEMMA would be a good magazine.
Yeah, I mean, it is good. I mean, because potentially these guys that you're writing about are going to be the future,
Well, and that's the thing, and the thing is that as a fighter, if you're just under that belt of, say, UFC, UFC MMA, the big name shows, if you're just under the belt, it's really hard to get exposure.
Yeah.
So if you've got a magazine that deals with top names, I mean, we've done interviews with Ollie Thompson, we'll be doing an interview with Pete Mercer, we're hoping to get an interview with Tolly. So there'll be some big names in there, but we'll be covering right under the belt as well for the everyday fighters, and letting people know that MMA's the future. It's the future of our sport.
It's growing very quickly in this country now, isn't it? It's
I mean, it's improving all the time. The regulations, they're looking at things, they're bringing in blood testing all the time, things like that, to make sure that the athletes are more and more safe. I myself, I wrote an article with the help of Yaz on kids in MMA, to let the sort of general public know that MMA is good for the youngsters as well. It's not just ladies, everyone. I mean, it's the future of our sport, isn't it? Really.
Definitely.
You want anything to add?
You've got a fight coming up soon as well, is that right?
I have indeed, yeah.
Is that UFC?
It'll be Fury MMA.
Yeah.
That'll be held in London. Going to fight Big Thomas.
Yeah. Polish fella.
Yeah. Should be a good fight. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, he's big, man. He's big.
Yeah.
I'm excited about the fight because I know he's going to bring a war. He's a good fighter. He's got a good reputation. He's fought on some big shows. He's fought some big names. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm confident.
Potentially against sort of guys your size and this size, it's more likely to knockout than submissions. Would you say? I mean, at the top level, you very rarely get submissions.
Yeah, I mean, I am versed in submission wrestling and stuff like that, but realistically, I think with big heavyweights, one blow and it's all over. Do you know what I mean? One mistake and it's gone. Yeah. And I'm a wrestler. I come from a Greco background, so I like to wrestle and just brawl. Yeah. I've been training with this fight. I'll be starting like a training camp with Ollie Thompson. Yeah.
UFC, Ollie's gone to UFC.
Yeah, Ollie's in the UFC now. I mean, I'm so blessed to have him to come in and work in the gym with me. He got me ready to my last fight. I fought on Battler Brawlers there against a guy called Colgit Deacon. Stopped him in the first round, 13 seconds. Yeah. So that was with Ollie's help, and now he's come on board here, so he'll create a training camp. So
how difficult is it? I mean, because you've got your magazine, you've got all this to train and do everything. Is it hard for you, or?
Yeah, it's really tough because obviously I work as well during the day, because like a lot of fighters, you have to work to pay the bills. It is difficult, but it's something, you know, it's something I love, and obviously I've got my missus, she takes care of a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. It's all good for me to get in there, but she really makes the whole club and everything else tick.
Yeah, brilliant.
So,
and finally, what are you doing today? You're at the M.A.A.S.I.F Open in Ashford today. You've got a couple of bits going on.
We've got about 7 or 8 new members who've only been with us for maybe 4 or 5 months who are going to be competing today for the very first time.
Okay, so big day for them then.
Yeah, I mean, really good. I think these kind of tournaments, the open mat tournaments, are really good because it gives all the competitors a chance to gain a bit of experience, get over the nerves, and obviously it gives them a chance to actually improve their skills and then make a conscious decision whether they want to push forward. Yeah, but you know, hopefully we'll get some good results here today.
And Paul, last thing, how important is it for young kids nowadays, especially the way gangs and stuff are going? How important is it for young kids to get into MMA, young as possible?
I think that it's paramount for youngsters to get involved in MMA, whichever your discipline might be, whether it be wrestling, whether it might be kickboxing. I just think that the youngsters of today, there ain't really nothing about for them. Lots of community centres and everything else have been taken away. If you can get kids into sport, give them a bit of drive, self-confidence, and also, you know, it teaches them about themselves and about self-control. At our club, our philosophy is, if you can't control yourself, how can you expect to control anyone else? So I'd urge everyone to get their kids into MMA.
Is that what you wrote about with your kids' stuff as well? Did you include that this is what they should be getting into? You know, because obviously there's football. We've had that all the time in this country. We've got MMA now. It's a different kind of discipline, I believe. To like, you know, you can't misbehave. You can't go out and get drunk because if you do, you know, your body won't recover, will it?
No, and also the difference is that, you know. Yeah, you are going to get the youths who are a little bit burly and everything else who want to get into the MMA for sort of like to be supposed cage fighters, as the media term us. But once they get into it and start getting a bit more disciplined and the coaches start working with them, then they realise that there are rules and regulations. You have to train properly, you have to diet, you can't go out getting pissed up. And also, like we've got a rule at our club, haven't we, Yaz, that if we've got fighters and they're going out and they're getting in trouble, then basically, you know, we're telling them, you know, we'll give you 2 strikes. If you're in trouble and then you go out and you get pissed and then you're fighting and stuff like that, we'll just say, right, you're gone. There's none of that. So, yeah, I mean, that's what we try to incorporate in the article, and obviously to talk about, you know, there's a whole issue, isn't there, with kids being thrown in a cage and things like that. So we try to touch base on that and to let people know that, you know, we're sports people.
I mean, I try explaining to people because the word cage makes you sound like an animal in a zoo.
Of course,
I try to explain to people the cage is actually more of a safety device than anything. Because if you had the ropes and you were fighting against them, you'd be on the floor, you'd be hurting yourself. And there's nothing else really I don't think you could use other than the cage to keep the fighters safe. So it's not actually, it's a cage fighter sounds, he's an animal, but it's far from it.
It's far from it. I mean, we're sports people. We have to work at many different elements of our game, from submissions to striking. I mean, it's developed now into a sports science. And you're right, you know, the octagon there is, obviously, if you're getting slammed against the back of it, if you had ropes there, you'd fall through onto the crowd. And obviously, as sports people and as sports you know, scientists in the development of coaching, nowadays the cage is used for the advantage because, you know, you can work for the cage walking up the back. So it's actually, we've actually turned it into an advantage, even though it was brought into something as a safety measure.
So you can like push off the cage.
You can push off the cage, you can work. A lot of people used to panic when they get against the cage if you're on the bottom, but nowadays, you know, obviously we're developing techniques and ways to use the cage to your advantage.
So I mean, learning how to roll off the cage and stuff it's not martial art, it's a completely different kind of skill to try and
of course, and that's been developed because that's what we compete in. I mean, you know, if you look at boxers, you wouldn't, or the media wouldn't term boxers ring fighters. They're boxers. We're mixed martial artists. Whichever discipline we come through, we just happen to compete in an octagon. You know, which was developed for safety, really.
And where your club? Whereabouts is it?
It's in Hastings, East Sussex. It's called the Zoo Fight Club.
And anyone, any level can come and join?
We have children as young as 5 actually training.
5, so I mean, what a great age for kids to get into it at the age of 5, you know?
I mean, you know, for us to see our youngsters who are 5 knowing about arm bars and sort of escapes and triangles at that age, and you look at them and you think, well, if they carry on in another 10 or 15 years, can you imagine the level of competition that will be around? I mean, it will be phenomenal.
Because obviously when we were young, MMA wasn't there, was it?
No.
I mean, it's only the last sort of 10 years it's really like developed.
It's really developed and sort of been brought to the surface. So I mean, if you're looking in 10 or 15 years time, I honestly think that at some stage you will, or I'd hope, this is what I'd hope, that you would see MMA at a competitive level in the Olympics. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah, that's, I mean, we've also done a story on that, but it should be, because you've got everything in there, boxing all separately, so why not put it together, you know?
And it's the ultimate test of skill, because you're put into various different situations within that time frame of the fight, that you have to, to adapt to the situation in there.
We've got some telly coverage as well, you know, some of the big, like Channel 5 now, they're showing a bit of BAMA. Alright, it's 2 weeks later, but that at least it's a start, and it's progressive.
It's progressive.
The sport is coming up, definitely.
I mean, if BBC, ITV and them are not interested, why not let Channel 5 do it? We all get it, it's a free channel.
Yeah.
Is BAMA the biggest in England, do you think?
I mean, whenever you talk about the mainstream in the UK, I think 2 names always pop up, and that's UCMMA and BAMA. And I suppose it's like Arsenal and Tottenham. You one or the other. Both good organisations, both run well. UCMMA, great organisation run by Dave O'Donnell. And then obviously you've got the strings behind BAMA. And I think that they're producing really top level athletes, and I think that anyone looking mainstream would look at those 2 shows and say, this is like superior
it's just
quality.
The audiences at the moment, it's like U.F.C, they'll sell out straight away, won't they? I mean, I think it's that same old cage thing again, isn't it? I mean, people think cage fight, but I think people like us and you, eventually I hope people will see that it is a skilled sport. You know, the doubters who don't think it should be on TV and stuff like that.
I mean, he has to tell you about our event. I mean,
we recently had an event in Hastings. We run our own events, and when we moved to Hastings from London, the police and the council were very sceptical about letting us hold an event in Hastings, and they gave us a venue to hold the first 2 events in. And after that, we went to various meetings, and then we're told that we could now use a council building.
That's good,
but basically they've got no problem with us at all using the buildings. We've recently got involved with the Hastings Round Table, so they're on board now. They can see that it's a well-run event, and it's not what people make it out to be. It's not barbaric.
Really solid footings for our future,
and I think, at our events as well, we let the youngsters come in and watch, so we encourage the families, because when people go to watch boxing, they don't assume that it's going to kick off in the crowd. So why assume that if you come into an MMA event? It's not. I mean, there's a genuine interest in the combat sports. There has been for thousands of years, otherwise they wouldn't exist now. It's just all we've done is we've developed them to a high level now, and I think MMA is a family sort of night out. I mean, if you look at all the events in the States, they do them in football stadiums, and I can't see why we couldn't achieve that here.
No, we should. I think eventually, hopefully, we will do.
Well, I think as well with organisations such as yourself, putting interviews like this out and interviewing other high level, like I know you said you're doing an interview with Ollie and Tolly and that, and I think the more media coverage that goes out there and people can listen to people's opinions and get to know fighters, the better.
This is it. I mean, do you think now that we've got a level of fighters in this country that can compete? Obviously, Ollie's fought in the UFC. I
mean, Ollie's outing in the UFC there was, I mean, it was phenomenal, just watching him in there. I mean, it's a big show. He went in there, he stood his ground, and I mean, there was points in that fight. I mean, one of my favourite points is where he was against the cage. Guy was trying to find a way in. He was working the fight, and you could see that he was fully in control. And I think to go in at a high level of competition like that and perform like that, I think that everyone's got to stand up and see that the UK now is producing superior athletes that are they're going to be out there on the world stage.
Do you think the Americans will hold us back a bit though? They don't want too many Brit guys going in. Do you think there's a case of that?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't really looked into that, but maybe there could be because obviously it's an American business. It's an American business, and it's moved very quickly. But again, you know, if people like Ollie, I mean, you've got people like Ollie, you've got Tom Watson. If you look at their skill levels, I mean, even if you're looking at, you know, Hardy, Bisping, all them guys. I mean, they're out there. They're proving that.
They're putting us on the U.F.C. map.
I mean, Bisping's just come through leaps and bounds now, hasn't he? I mean, you know, he's gone from strength to strength.
Miller fight was disappointing, but against Sonnen he done really well.
And I mean, you know, Sonnen's a big name in the States. So, you know, you have got our Brit boys flying the flag up there and showing what we're capable of. You know, and I mean, if you're looking at sort of like the heavyweights, like I go back to Ollie again. I mean, for the sheer size of him, he makes me look like a midget when you stand next to him. But the movement skills that he has, you know, they've got to stand up and say these boys are. You know, I long for the day where we get a Brit with a title shot at the UFC.
That's what I mean. Bisping was close, but Sonnen sort of ended that.
He ended that,
But what do you think, Ollie? I mean, what's it like when you see Ollie in the UFC and you know you've trained with him? Is it because obviously we know him, we watch it as fans, but obviously for you've trained with the guy, you see him in the UFC. Does it make you feel a bit like, you know, Jesus, like he's on the big stage, or?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's just I feel really blessed to be able to work with Ollie and for him to come in and help me get ready for the fights, and actually to sit down and watch him in the UFC, you're like.
Strange.
But when he walks in the gym, so chilled, so cool. We had him down for a seminar, didn't we? With our kids and our members, and he came in, and he's just Ollie. He's just a nice gentleman who works really well with people.
I find that a lot. Most of the MMA guys like yourself as well. You know, just down to earth. You know, there's no big ego. It's not like you know, it's great feeling. I think that's the attitudes that are going to push MMA, because. You know, if they're walking around like, you know, like Chisora, David Hay, they're actually, you know, what they did was, that's boxing, professional boxing, And people are putting amateur cage fighting down, no. But then you've got professional boxers behaving like that, so it's kind of it helps with MMA, I think, because, like, you know, they can see, well, hold on, the MMA guys, they don't do stuff like this, you know, they...
Yeah, professionalism, you know, and obviously, I think, you know, it's like everything in it. You can look at that sort of A situation and say, was it a publicity stunt, weren't it? But I think it only does us favours, really, because you know, if you're doing interviews, it's a good thing for us. You know, keep on, you know, getting drunk and having arguments, because that will just push our sort of status up. And I think the more, you know, the more these interviews go out, the more people see that MMA, it's not thugs getting in a cage, barbaric fighting to the death, which some people kind of have that impression of, which I don't know why. If you watch an MMA fight, you see that the level of competition is extraordinary.
It's even at low level, even in the smaller shows, you look and you think, you know, these guys are it's athlete. You're athletes.
Athletes. I mean, as I tell you, some of our guys who train, I mean, they put everything into it, don't they?
Literally, some of them are in
and
there 5 days a week.
That obviously makes you want to give them everything that you guys have got, because obviously...
I mean, you know, you got them guys coming in the gym week after week, putting time and effort in. But it's like everything, isn't it? It's if you want to be good at something, and it's a competitive sport that you choose to be involved in, you've got to give everything. Because if you're not, somebody else will be. Because it's winning. It's winning. It's important. You know. Obviously, you know, you learn by your losses. You learn by bits and pieces, but ultimately everyone competes to win.
That's right.
So,
right, guys, that's brilliant.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you
as well. Good luck with your next fight.
Lovely, thanks.
And obviously we'll get all this done and we'll get it posted to you all, and we'll get it shared about.
Nice one.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, I hope you boys do well today.